June 9, 1912. Villisca, Iowa, a quiet town tucked between cornfields and dirt roads, the kind of place where everyone knew your name and your business. But that Sunday night, something came to Villisca, something no one saw, something no one heard, and something that would never leave. It was around 9:30 p.m. when the Moore family returned home from church. Josiah Moore, a prominent businessman, his wife, Sarah, a devout and kind-hearted woman, their 4 children, Herman, Catherine, Boyd, and Paul, ranging from age 5 to 11, and with them that night 2 young girls, Lena and Ina Stillinger, invited for a sleepover after the service. The home was filled with laughter, leftover cake, a squeaky front door, and the sounds of children getting ready for bed. By 10 p.m., all was still. No screams, no breaking glass, not a single sound. At 7 a.m. the next morning, neighbor Mary Peckham noticed something odd. The house was too quiet. The Moores were early risers, especially with young kids. The curtains were drawn. No one came out to feed the chickens, and the front door was locked from the inside. By 8 a.m., Mary had called Josiah's brother. He arrived, used his spare key, stepped inside, and found a scene so horrific, he stumbled out and vomited in the yard. All 8 people in the house were dead, each bludgeoned with an axe. The same axe Josiah's found leaning against the wall, still stained, still sharp. What chilled the investigators wasn't just the brutality, it was the ritualistic stillness. The killer had stayed, moving from room to room, methodically murdering every sleeping soul. Josiah was struck 20 times. Sarah's face was unrecognizable. The children were crushed, and Lena Stillinger, she may have woken up. Her body was twisted, her sheets pushed aside, a defensive wound on her arm. There were no footprints, no forced entry, only intent. But it was what they found next that turned horror into mystery. Every mirror in the house had been covered. The killer had placed clothes over each glass pane, like someone avoiding their own reflection. A kerosene lamp had been dismantled, its globe set gently under the bed to give off a dull, reddish light, and near the axe sat a slab of bacon. Yes, bacon, uncooked, left on a rag next to the bloody blade. The killer had eaten. He washed his hands in a bowl of water, left it there, pink with blood, and then he walked out the door, vanished. Rumors spread like a virus. Was it personal, a family enemy? Or was this something darker? Because here's the part no one talks about. The axe was left intentionally visible, propped against the wall in the most disturbing way, like a message or an invitation. And whoever did it had done it before. Other towns, other families, all butchered in the same way, all in homes where mirrors were covered, all by someone who didn't want to see what he'd become. This wasn't just murder, this was a ritual. And the house in Villisca was only the beginning. June 1912. 8 lives gone. 1 axe. No answers. The town of Villisca was paralyzed. Doors were bolted. Guns stayed loaded beside beds. Neighbors turned on each other. And behind every drawn curtain was fear, because whoever had done it hadn't just killed. He had lingered. He covered mirrors. He tucked the bodies in like children. He ate a meal. He cleaned himself. And then he walked away like a phantom. No blood trail. No footprints. No evidence. Only a name whispered in rising panic. It must have been someone we know. The investigation kicked into overdrive. And what they uncovered made everything worse. Detail number 1. The murderer had used the blunt end of the axe, not the blade. The faces of the victims weren't just struck, they were obliterated. Overkill, not just murder, rage. Detail number 2. One of the victims, 12-year-old Leah Stillinger, was found lying differently than the others. Her nightgown was pushed up. There were scratches on her arm, signs she may have woken up. The rest died in their sleep. But Lena, she saw him, and she fought back. That changed everything. Was this a sexual motive? Was it a thrill kill, a family vendetta? And then suspects began to surface. Suspect number 1, Frank Jones, a powerful state senator and Josiah Moore's former boss. They had bad blood. Josiah had left Jones's business, took customers, humiliated him publicly. People whispered Jones had hired someone to take care of it, but Jones had an airtight alibi, and no evidence ever linked him to the crime. Still, his name never left the rumor mill. Suspect number 2, Reverend George Kelly, a traveling preacher, obsessed with sign, known for dark, erratic sermons about judgment, blood, and fire. Kelly had attended the same church service as the Moores that very night. He left town just hours after the murders, and later, he would confess, but his story changed multiple times. Some say he wanted attention. Others say he was mentally ill. The court didn't believe him. He was acquitted, set free, and the case went cold. But here's what the public didn't know. Across the Midwest, from 1909 to 1914, similar murders appeared. Families butchered with an axe, all at night, all in their homes, all with mirrors covered, all with the killer staying after as if he wasn't in a hurry. Coincidence? Or was the Villisca killer part of something bigger? Some investigators believed it was the work of a traveling serial killer, one who rode trains, slipped into towns at night, killed, and vanished before morning, and no one ever found him. The Moore house was boarded up, unlived in, unwanted, and yet people swore it wasn't empty. Neighbors reported lamps turning on at night, shadows in the upstairs window, children's laughter long after the Moore children were buried, and those who dared go inside said they felt it immediately, like something was waiting, watching, breathing. The mirrors may have been covered in 1912, but something was still staring back. More than a century has passed since the night the Moore family and 2 young girls were butchered in their sleep. 8 lives taken with an axe. No one convicted, no justice, no peace. But the story didn't end in 1912. In fact, some say it never ended at all, because the Moore house in Villisca, Iowa, didn't just become a crime scene. It became something else, a gateway, a prison, a place where something darker took root and refused to leave. The haunting begins. After the murders, the house was abandoned. For years, it stood empty like it was holding its breath. Neighbors refused to walk past after sunset. Some claimed they heard children laughing inside. Others saw lamps turn on when no one was home. A mailman once quit his job after seeing a girl watching him from the upstairs window. He swore she was bleeding. By the 1940s, a desperate family moved in, but they didn't stay long. The father reported hearing heavy footsteps at night, as if someone were pacing the hallway with boots on. Drawers opened on their own, mirrors fogged without cause, and once they awoke to see every closet door wide open. The children refused to sleep upstairs. One night, the daughter screamed from her bed. She said someone was standing in the corner, a tall man holding an axe. When her father turned on the light, nothing was there, except the axe, which hadn't been there the night before. The house reopens. In the 1990s, a man named Darwin Lynn purchased the Moore house and restored it to its 1912 condition. No plumbing, no electricity, just as it was the night the Moores died. He opened it to the public for tour and overnight stays. It didn't take long before the paranormal investigators arrived. Ghost hunters, skeptics, mediums, all left shaken. EVPs captured the voice of a child whispering, "He's still here," and other recordings simply said, "Run." Guests report children's footsteps running across the upstairs floor at 2 a.m., the faint sound of crying from the bedrooms, cabinets slamming with no one in the kitchen, cold hands touching them in the dark. A man who mocked the spirits was found outside the next morning, scratched, confused, unable to explain how he got there. In 2014, a paranormal investigator staying overnight suddenly stabbed himself in the chest inside the children's bedroom. He survived, but to this day, he can't explain why he did it. He said something told him to. Some say the murders play on a loop. Visitors report waking at 12:30 a.m., the exact time the killings are believed to have begun. They hear the creak of footsteps, then silence, then the dull thud of an axe, over and over and over again. And sometimes they swear they hear a girl screaming, "Leave her alone, don't hurt her." One medium left the house crying uncontrollably. She said the children don't know they're dead. They asked me where their parents are. She whispered, "They're stuck, and he's still there, keeping them quiet." The twist, a whisper from the walls. In 2021, a new visitor stayed overnight, an audio engineer, trying to debunk the legends. He brought high-grade recording equipment, spent 10 hours in the house, alone. He claimed nothing happened until he played the audio back. In the background of his 3 a.m. recording, a voice whispered, very faint, distorted, but clear enough, "I was never alone. He made me watch. He said if I screamed, he'd kill them all. So I stayed quiet. It was me." Experts dismissed it as distortion, but some aren't so sure, because the voice, it didn't sound like an adult. It sounded like a girl. Lena Stillinger, age 12. The unspoken theory. What if the killer didn't leave that night? What if something darker, older entered that house long before June 1912? What if the axe was just a tool, and the real horror is still behind the curtains, watching, waiting, whispering? The case is cold, they say, but the house is still warm. Warm, like breath on the back of your neck.